What's up, everyone? Happy Tuesday. So good to see you. I am loving doing these lunch and learns with all of you. I think there's been so much value. If you have missed any of them, please make sure to comment the word replay in the comments, and we can get you all the ones from last week. This is really all about making sure that you are your own Valentine, meaning taking care of yourself and you are making yourself a priority. When it comes to relationships, whether you are in the beginning phase of thinking, hey, I'm not sure if I want this relationship to continue, all the way to beyond it and maybe thinking about dating again, we've got all the tools that you need right here to be able to help you really create that life that you want. No matter what it is, we are here to support you. And so I've been having some experts in the field when it comes to financial advice, when it comes to, I actually had a divorce coach to help you save money through the process of divorce. And of course, last week we talked about self-care last Friday. So again, if you have not been able to watch those, just comment the word replay in the comments and I'll make sure you get that. Also to say too, I am streaming in several different places. So if you are a female, I recommend going over and joining our private Facebook group, which is Divorce Support, Heal, Rebuild, and Thrive. If you are watching this and you're a guy, then I would recommend following our page, our YouTube channel, which is Being Loved Shouldn't Hurt. That way you can get the replays. Those are all going to be available to you there. People that are on all of the other social medias, you can't, I don't have the ability to send you those links. So you're going to have to just follow me so that you don't miss any of the other ones that we're going to be having for the rest of the week. And also, if you want those replays, make sure that you follow me on those other places. You can also send me a private message and I can share those with you. So without further ado, I would like to welcome my friend John Nachlinger. I'm going to say his name wrong. I've known him now. We've done a few different interviews. We got to interview in studio in New York the last time I was there. So I really love his work. I'm really excited about how passionate he is about to really help people and support them through their journey of divorce and really, clearing out their lives and opening up the possibilities for something new for themselves. So I'm going to welcome John to the show. Welcome.
Thank you for having me again.
You're very welcome. I've been loving doing this, and it's just such a great opportunity for all the wonderful experts that I know to really showcase their work, but also to really educate people in all of this process, because everyone that's here, they're new. They don't understand what's going on. They're scared. They, all these different feelings that are going, which I'm sure that you see all the time. So why don't you share a little bit about what your expertise is, and then, share a little bit about maybe what got you so interested in doing this?
Well, I've been a divorce attorney for more than 20 years in New Jersey. And about 5 years ago, I added divorce coaching to my repertoire. But I only work with men. So I call myself a men's divorce strategist because, we all know that word coach gets thrown around a lot. Really, I focus on helping men prepare for the divorce process, get their mind in the right place, get them all prepared to go through divorce, and then help them through the divorce process itself. I really don't concentrate too much on post-divorce life. There's coaches out there that are really good at doing that sort of thing. Exactly. So, I'm a big fan that you hire people that are good at what they do, and they help you wherever you are, whatever stage you're in. And as a divorce attorney, I'm very passionate about educating the world about divorce mediation and making sure people understand that that is the best option always to get divorced.
So, okay. And so I'm so excited to talk about this, because whenever I talk to anybody, they'll say, and I felt this way too, I can't go through mediation because we don't get along. It's going to be a big argument. I really wish I knew that was a possibility, because it would have saved me a hell of a lot of money. So have you noticed, or have you had the opportunity for people that are even in a high conflict situation to still be able to go through mediation?
Absolutely. What's been interesting over the past month or so, I've done all of our new client consultations in the law firm, and I usually don't do them because we have someone else that usually does them, but I've just taken them over recently. And it's been very instructive for me, because almost everyone that calls in has this idea that they need to hire an attorney, regardless of whether it's high conflict, low conflict. They need to hire an attorney and file, go to court. I got to file something. I hear that all the time. I'm ready to file. And so, people have it in their head that that's the option. That's the only option there is. And what's been interesting is in doing these consultations, I've been educating people. People will call me from the stage of crying to, I had someone 2 days ago use so many 4-letter words over the course of 45 minutes. I was like, my head was spinning by the time we were done. But no matter where you are in the process, there is a way to use mediation to resolve everything before you let it get worse. And I say all the time, the second you go to court and it's John versus Jane or Jane versus John, and there's that litigation, sort of me versus them, it changes mindset sometimes. It really changes the complexion, as opposed to just two people sitting down and trying to figure out how to unwind this marriage that is no longer working.
Yeah, we were talking yesterday actually with a divorce coach, Christopher Stewart, and we were saying how, we know that when someone's getting to the point of divorce, we already know they don't get along. So that's already an issue that's there. And, having someone on your team to help you process and think more clearly, because there is a lot of emotion. There's the anger, there's the being let down, there's the grief, there's all those different things that are coming around. And, sometimes we don't make the best decisions because mentally, we're just in the wrong place.
Yeah. I mean, that's the key. Divorce is 95% emotion. It really is. The law is not very complicated. I don't think divorce is complicated. As long as you can get past the emotion and you can get yourself in a place where you understand, number one, your marriage is over, whether you wanted it or whether you're the one that's initiating or you're on the receiving end, or it's mutual. It's happening. You understand that certain things have to get done in order to get divorced. And you understand that, you're never going to love it. You're never going to like the result. You're not going to like any part of the process, but you have to get into the right mindset of, this is happening. So how do I make the best of it? And that's really so important. The people that you've heard those divorces that go on for years and years and cost tens and tens and tens of thousands of dollars. It's because they went in probably with the mindset of, I'm gonna kick their butt. I'm gonna go hire a bulldog attorney. I'm gonna bury them. I'm gonna make them wish they never cheated on me. I'm gonna make them wish they hadn't done this, they hadn't done that. And all you get out of it is wealthy attorneys. You have less money left over. If you have children with this person, now your co-parenting is severely damaged, if not destroyed. And what do you get? You don't get anything out of it. So really, that preparation before you even start the divorce process is almost more important than what's happening in the divorce itself.
I work with a lot of people that are dealing with narcissists in their lives. And one of the biggest complaints I hear people say is, my lawyer doesn't understand that my ex is a narcissist and he's trying to manipulate the system. Do lawyers understand narcissists, and how do they deal with that?
Most lawyers don't. We don't get trained in mental health to become lawyers. So what's interesting about that is and I'd say everyone, but a lot of men will come in and tell me that their wives are bipolar. And a lot of women will come in and tell me their husbands are narcissistic. Mm-hmm. And so the first thing I always know is that people don't really understand those words for the most part. There are true people that are narcissists. There are true people that are bipolar. There's people out there. But what's interesting is our perceptions of people sort of cloud the entire process. But the people that are truly narcissistic or just difficult or just assholes, Stephanie, you can use any word you want. Seriously. You still have to figure out how to deal with them. And yes, you need an attorney that at least understands how to deal with a difficult person. But you also need somebody to guide you as someone that's divorcing that person, for you to understand how you're going to have to deal with them, how, you may have to give them a win or something so that they feel good about the outcome. So it's all about priorities. It's about goal setting. And those are all the things that you do, hopefully, before you start the process and you sort of get into it so that you can understand how to deal with them. Because at the end of the day, you want to get out of it. You want to get out of the relationship, and that person's going to want to keep it going and try to use control. And you've got to have somebody that knows what they're doing. That doesn't mean you have to have an expert on narcissism representing you. An expert would be someone like yourself, Stephanie. It's not like lawyers. There are lawyers that are licensed social workers and other people out there, but you don't need an expert. You just need someone who at least has a plan. What are we going to do? How are we going to deal with this? And hopefully you've got somebody else you're working with too, like a therapist or a coach or somebody that's also helping you with the situation.
Yeah, because that's one of the biggest complaints that I hear from other friends that are lawyers is that, somebody will call and they're frustrated because their ex is doing XYZ and they're venting to their lawyer. And, I'll say to the lawyer, I'll say, well, send them back to me because, I know that you guys aren't trained. That's not what you're supposed to do. And the way I understand it, there's the law that you're following. So they can complain all day long that their ex is a narcissist or bipolar or whatever, but it actually doesn't do anything for you to help them through the case itself.
Right. I mean, lawyers are there to help you get divorced, like the legal process. It's much like going to an accountant. They're there to do your taxes. They're not there to talk to you about how fair it is or, have a shoulder to cry on whenever, you have to pay taxes. They're there to prepare your tax return. That's what lawyers are there for. We're technical people that are supposed to do this. So that's why it's important that you surround yourself with other professionals that are good at what they do that can complement your attorney. I mean, I'm a little biased, but I think almost everyone would benefit from a divorce coach of some kind. Of course, you need the right coach that's dealing with the situation that you're going through, whatever that might be. A financial person, someone who's dealing with more of a life coaching, like, what is my life going to be over after this? What's next? Or it might be someone who's an expert at dealing with your spouse, like being a narcissist or being somebody who's difficult, or a co-parenting coach of some kind. So you can learn how to, so who the professional is a different issue. But the fact of the matter is, going back to the process, regardless of how you come into divorce, you really don't need to go down the traditional road. It's like this, we all watch things on TV. We've all seen like divorces happen in the movies and everything. That's not how it has to be. And so I don't want anyone to think that just because their spouse is, a certain way, that all of a sudden you got to get the aggressive attorney and you got to do all these things and spend all this money because that's going to be the only way to protect yourself in a divorce.
Yeah. I think also too, there is sometimes a fear of there's the money loss. So, there's always accusations of money being hidden and then wanting the lawyer to make sure they're finding all of that. Are there any things that you might suggest of how to make sure that the money is accounted for, or is that something like, who would you recommend to do that?
Well, most of the time when you've got W-2 employees, where money is just being deposited into a bank account, especially if it's a joint bank account, and I start hearing those kinds of things coming out from somebody, I'm like, well, why do you think there's money missing? Like, is it just a suspicion, or do you have like you've seen something where you think it's actually occurring? Because there's a lot of distrust that goes on, in divorce too, where you just don't trust, I feel like something's going on. Well, a feeling isn't really good enough for a lawyer to act on. Why do you have this feeling? Now, if you've lived totally financial separate lives, which a lot of people do. I mean, a lot of people have separate bank accounts. They just contribute what they need to into a joint account. Then in that situation, okay, maybe they are doing something, but you kind of signed up for it. That's the way you arranged your marriage. So I don't know why don't get too upset about it. Now, might it be important for purposes of figuring out some parts of your divorce? Yeah. But at the end of the day, if you're going to have somebody that will not provide you any information, then you're going to have a very difficult divorce. I mean, that's just the fact of the matter. But if you're going to have somebody that wants to be cooperative, amicable, not spend all their money fighting, they're going to provide you with enough information. And that's the key, enough information. Now, there's some people that are never satisfied. There's some people that want to see 7 years of every credit card statement, bank statement, everything to feel good. But again, you have to be clear on what is important to you. And based on what's important to you, what do you actually need to see to feel important? Is it important to know whether your spouse has a shoebox with $1,000 somewhere that you don't know about? I mean, some people it might be, but I don't think for most people it is. Or, I mean, if it's $100,000, different story. But, it's all about degrees. Like, do you have enough information to make an educated decision that this is a fair resolution? And that's not perfect, not the best, fair resolution to your divorce.
I actually had someone recently, she was ready to, she was going to sign up with us. She knew she needed the support, and her husband found out that she was moving forward with a divorce and took her off of all the bank accounts. So she had zero ability to have any money, and she'd been a stay-at-home mom and whatever. My ex-husband, when I told him we were getting a divorce, we had a joint bank account and he wiped it all out. He took all of the money out. I was like, what? I didn't even know that was possible that he could. I mean, obviously he could do whatever he wants because his name was on there. But there are some people that do some messed up things. And I agree. I think it starts to become this thing of, I'm going to take them to the cleaners. I want to get back at them. And, I have a client right now where I've said to her, you have to try to figure out where you might have to eat a little shit. And I'm like, and that sometimes that feels bad, but you got to think like, do you want this to be over? Do you want to spend lots and lots of extra money to have to go to court and everything else? Like, what is it that you actually want? And I think for some people, like they need to be reminded that even though they're trying to go after that extra pension or that extra thing that they have, is there something else they can trade to get something else that they want so that it doesn't last for years and years? Because you're going to end up, everyone's losing money in that scenario.
Right. I think it stems from two things primarily. One is the need to punish, and the other one's just a lack mindset. Like, like if I don't get it now, I'm never going to get it. It's people, when we're fighting about support and that sort of thing, people will do the same thing, fighting about $10 a week. And I'm like, is $10 a week really going to move the needle one way or the other? So usually I find that it's either, maybe someone receiving it has this mindset of like, I'm never going to be able to get a job making enough money. I'm never going to be able to do this. So I have to get as much money now as I can. On the other side, people want to punish people. So like to some degree, you have to kind of get to the core of why are you asking for what you're asking for? Why is it important to you? And those are the conversations that really should be happening at the very beginning. And I think that's where a lot of people sort of get off the road too early in a divorce, is they get too caught up on what they want versus what they need. And they have an attorney or somebody advising them that's not bringing them back to what they need. They're too concentrated on what I want. Oh, I want, I hear those phrases like full custody of the kids, which, I mean, that doesn't really exist. Or I want this obscene amount of alimony. I want half of their income, like things that would never happen. And attorneys are like, okay, we're going to try to get that for you. And now all of a sudden the expectations are set in a bad place, and it just gets worse and worse and worse as it goes on. And so that's why, like, I mean, whenever you're even talking to attorneys, like I would like look at an attorney and say, be honest with me. I want to know, what am I likely to get? Okay, I told you what I want, but what am I likely to get? And whenever they tell you like something you don't like, don't just walk out of their office, accept that they're doing what's best for you. They're actually guiding you. And that's what you need. You need people to be honest with you when you're going through a divorce.
And that's finding a lawyer, finding an attorney that you vibe with. I think that's we were talking about that yesterday too in the training, was that, don't just go to the first person necessarily that maybe your friend went to. Talk to them, have a conversation, see if you feel comfortable, because like you said, there is this lack of trust already with what's going on. You don't want it to be this like back and forth, angry, frustrating time with your attorney. You should be able to trust that they're doing their job correctly, and that they're going to guide you the right way. And so, and that's one of the things, again, going back to the mediation thing, most lawyers don't even give that as an option. Why do you think they don't even suggest that?
It's called money, Stephanie. It's called money. I mean, I don't know how else to say it. I mean, most attorneys, they play into what people already believe needs to happen. Like, okay, you don't trust your spouse, you're angry at them. Okay, well, give me money and I'm going to take care of you. But most of the time, most people can go through mediation without attorneys at the very beginning. But you're right, no one tells them that. Now I do, because I mean, a lot of attorneys don't like doing mediation, although that's starting to change a little bit. But usually people that like to go to court, they like to fight, that's what drives them. Those people aren't going to be the ones that are like, okay, there's a more amicable way to get this done. There's a way to get it done in a way that costs less than just what's going to cost for one of you to go get an attorney just to start. So there's definitely a way that attorneys in general have not subscribed to this process, or they convince clients that you can go through mediation, but you need them next to you to go through mediation. And that also I don't believe either. Now, I'm a big fan of getting legal advice, maybe talking to an attorney before you go to mediation, just so that you've got, the universe of possibilities before you go in. But most people, and by most people, I mean W-2 employees, maybe you've got a couple of kids, and basically custody is not really going to be contested. The kids are going to be with both of you a lot of the time. Mm-hmm. You've got some retirement accounts, a couple bank accounts, and a couple cars. You don't need a fight because there's nothing there that's complicated. It's super, super easy, and a good mediator can actually guide you, give you opinions, and guide you, and really help you get to a resolution. But so many people go to these attorneys that say, okay, we're going to make him pay for that. Oh, he cheated on you. We're going to make him pay for that. Here's your retainer agreement. I need $5,000. I need $7,500. I need $10,000, whatever the retainer is. And then all they're going to do is file something with the court, get you into the system, spend a bunch of money to get to a point 9 months, 12 months, 15 months, 16 months later that you could have gotten to on day one, and not have to give up all your PTO days, all that stress, all that emotional torment that you went through. No vacations because you got to spend all your time, on the litigation. You can't afford to go anywhere because you got to give your attorney money. There's such a better way, and I'm just going to keep saying it and saying it and saying it until it permeates out there, because it's not permeating enough right now.
Yeah, and I didn't realize this, but there is the issue even for the attorneys, where if they're running up these huge bills, it actually doesn't look good at tax time, or getting loans or whatever, if there's unpaid balances, because then it looks like there's less money, right? Isn't there an issue with, because you can't get paid if someone makes $70,000 a year and they have $40,000 in attorney's fees? No one's getting any money out of that,
No, and that's a very difficult situation, because that's attorneys' faults for the most part. It's their fault on two levels. One is they let fees build up by not setting expectations appropriately. And secondly, they allow clients to demand things that they really should not be doing on their client's behalf. Like, for example, you'll have people, I've had people over the years that have gotten mad because a child was dropped off 10 minutes late. Okay, it happened one time. Do we really need to write a letter that's going to get a letter back? And all of a sudden we just spent $500 fighting about a 10-minute, late pickup or drop off. Mm-hmm. But people get into this, but the attorneys allow it to happen. They don't tell their clients no. And that's another thing too. There's nothing wrong with an attorney telling their client, no, I'm not going to do it. And as a client, if your attorney says, I'm not going to do it, or I don't recommend that we do that, listen to your attorney. I mean, all you're going to do is spend money, and you're going to make yourself feel good for like 2 minutes that you read whatever they wrote, and you're going to feel all good. The court's going to let you down. And by let you down, I mean, they're not going to do anything that's really going to be what you really want them to do. And then you're going to get the bill from your attorney. And all of a sudden, those good feelings are now, there's no good feelings anymore. Yeah. It's a bad problem. I mean, I don't let bills get run up in my office, but it's taken a long time for me to learn how to properly set expectations for clients so that doesn't happen. And then, there's the people out there, Stephanie, that want to fight. They want the battle. And before I'll do anything, I'll be like, okay, I told you this is not a good idea. You want me to do it anyway. You're the client. This is how much you need to pay. Mm-hmm. Do you still want to do it now? And I think that's just, sometimes people have to understand that there's a consequence for every action that you take, good or bad. But attorneys aren't doing that. They're letting people run up bills. I've talked to attorneys that have account receivables that would make you just fall out of your chair right now. And all it's doing is sending people into their post-divorce life with this huge, huge bill over their shoulder. Yeah. And then people feel desperate and they file for bankruptcy and they do all kinds of other things. So it's a bad situation, but you can avoid all of that by doing divorce mediation.
There we go. I love that. And, and I think that it's so good for everyone watching to be aware that that's something that's a possibility for them, no matter where they're at, is to be able to have that. None of us recommend really filing totally by yourself unless you do speak to a lawyer, right? Because like you still want to make sure that you're filing everything correctly and you're not screwing yourself with the co-parenting and all that. So you want to make sure that you have your expert. Now, I do have a question. A lot of, we work with men and women. However, there's definitely way more women. And some of the women will say, I'm really frustrated because I don't think that men are getting any types of supports with going through this process. And that like when they come out the other side, there's people that haven't done the work themselves either. So do you notice that? Like, are you getting a good number of men that you are working with?
Yeah. So the law in my law firm practice and mediation practice, it's really 50-50. What's interesting is a little bit beyond the scope of your question, but besides gender, really it's a cultural issue, like in divorce. I see a lot of similarities between different cultures. And I'm in New Jersey, which is the most culturally diverse state in the country. So we get a lot of different people getting, coming in here. But on the divorce coaching front, I do have something called Men's Divorce Network, which is it's an online forum for just men. Every day I have women trying to join. I have to say no, because I want guys to feel comfortable, going in there and talking. And the themes that you see are all the same. It's all fear that you're going to lose everything, that the system is set up against men, that it's against men, having equal custody of children. It's set up against men being able to survive financially after divorce, and that their wives have been plotting this for years, and it was underhanded the way they were plotting everything. The themes are the same. I mean, everyone says it quite differently. And then I also see a lot of this, Stephanie, where people have been divorced for years and they're still in a funk. Men are very bad about this, still in a funk. They still don't know really what direction their life should go in after this, because their identity was so much being a husband and a father, and they had this identity, and now that it's gone, they don't know what to do. And so all those people, had they just had some support early on in the process and really understood how to do it, how to move forward in a way that they could come out the other side better, they'd be in a much better place. And I get it. It costs money. Everything costs money, but it would be, I cannot emphasize enough, it's much better use of your money to hire people that can help you spend less money. Then that will help you spend less money on your divorce. It's so true. I mean, it's so true. I could give you examples all over the place of that exact situation. You hire, a therapist, and by the way, a lot of men need therapists that are going through divorce. Men hate therapy. Men hate therapy for themselves. They don't like therapy for their children. They're just anti-therapy in general. I'm generalizing, of course, because not all men are like that, but men in general have an issue with therapy. But therapists, coaches, financial planners, men, you do not know everything about money, believe it or not. Financial planners, tax professionals, everybody, get them involved at the beginning, and it's going to help you. It really will help you.
Yeah. I hands down, long-term goal, when you're looking at the time, the emotional stress, all of that, get your team, because that's going to end up costing you the less in the long run. And you're going to come out the other side. And, where we're helping people, whether they're thinking about it or the post-divorce, like pre or post-divorce, wherever they're at, having that support, because you've already wasted time. You've already lost time. So instead of being upset with the fact we lost it, we've already done that. So now let's as quickly as possible, start moving on to the next chapter of our lives and not be stuck. Because a lot of the times too, people will be done with their divorce, and then they're like, okay, well, I'm just going to be better now. And like, I was that person where I was like, I'm going to just be better. I have degrees in psychology. I have all this stuff. I just know not to do that anymore. And that was so not the case. And it's not the case for most people that I talk to. That's actually the time where the real work starts kicking in. But if you've already had someone for the beginning part, it's a much easier transition and makes it a heck of a lot easier after the fact.
Or people just go and enter into a new relationship to mask it all.
Oh my gosh. And, yes.
Before they've done anything. And then it's just like history repeats itself again.
And as a warning to everybody, second marriages, 70% end in divorce when people do not get the right support to heal. So if you want to lower those numbers, then you're going to want to make sure that you're working on yourself so that you don't fall into another issue with your another relationship.
Oh, and please, 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 if you get remarried, get a prenup.
Yes.
Get a prenup. I can't say it enough times.
Yes.
I mean, just get a prenup. You don't ever want to go through that divorce process again. I mean, hopefully you never will. But if it happens again, at least you can't say you weren't warned that there was a way to make it even better and easier the second time around. But it's the reason these divorces happen so frequently in these second marriages is exactly that reason. No one works on themselves. They don't do anything to fix any of the problems that they encountered in their first relationship. Because of course, it's never your fault. It's always somebody else's fault.
It's never us. We're always
exactly.
perfect. and even if you could say my ex was abusive and everything else, and I can still look at it and say that there were things that I did wrong. And I think there's always things that we can listen to ourselves and listen to, hey, this has been a pattern, or this was not my first unhealthy relationship. This one was just happened to be a marriage. But like, we need to work through those underlying issues so that we don't fall back in, because it's what's normal to us. It's what we feel inclined and pulled towards, even though it's something that's not healthy for us.
I mean, even if it's just knowing when you need to get out of it faster next time.
Yeah.
It's bad.
Exactly.
I always say it's very similar to like having employees. Like maybe the first one you let stay too long and you should have, let them move on. By the time you get to your second or third employee that doesn't work, to get rid of them a little bit faster because you've learned some lessons, hopefully. I'm not saying that you should get out of marriages quickly, but I'm saying if you're in a bad relationship and you missed all the signs the first go around, but for some reason you ended up marrying the same person again, which people do. But at least now you should, if you worked on yourself, you should know the signs. And this time there's no excuse.
Yeah.
You should learn your lessons. And if it's not working for whatever reason, make a change. And I don't advocate divorce. I say that all the time. I really don't. I wish no one could get divorced. I mean, I wish it was I wish it was so rare, but it's just it's something that's going on. And what else is going on, Stephanie, is just people are not getting married at all anymore. And we have a lot. I mean, the biggest segment of the population that's growing that we're going to all have to start addressing more are unmarried people with children. And it is getting bigger and bigger. And it's not people that it used to be. It's now there's a lot of like very professional, very educated, like people that you would think would normally get married that aren't getting married anymore, that are having children together. And that's a whole nother can of worms that we're going to have to figure out how to deal with in addition to people going through divorce.
Yeah. And I could see why. I think people were scared off because of divorce. I mean, and I agree too. I think that I don't want anyone to get divorced either. I want everyone to be happy. But for me, I was a health educator for 18 years. I've always been about prevention. So to me, it's like, all right, we already didn't do that, so we can't go backwards. But now let's make sure it doesn't happen again. Let's prevent it from happening again. Let's make sure we get all the support, we get all the healing, we do all the things, and let's not do that because that sucks. We don't want to go through that again. So on that note, the theme of this is be your own Valentine. So like, what suggestions do you have, or what are you going to do to be your own Valentine this year?
Well, I have not been concentrating on myself at all. And, that starts to impact you as a spouse, as a parent and everything. So the way I'm going to be my own Valentine this year is to actually be present with myself on Valentine's Day for a few hours. I'm actually, my daughter doesn't have school on Friday, thank goodness. And just sort of maybe spend a little time with her, maybe just, sit and read a book, which I haven't done in forever. Like just do something to get my mind off of the minutia of daily life. And I think that is something we all forget how to do. And then if you don't do that, you can't be a good spouse. Like you just can't be a good parent. You can't be a good friend. You can't be a good employer. You can't be a good attorney. You can't be good anything because you're just stressed out all the time. And it's that self-love that I don't think many of us do. And I've been noticing, like, whenever you start to get to that point where you're just stressed out, where you feel like if someone looks at you the wrong way, you might snap. Yeah, then that's when you know that this has been brewing for a while and you have not been taking care of yourself, because really there's no reason to get to that point.
No.
And I've been noticing a little bit lately. And we're too early in the year to already be going on like
I know. So. It's like that pressure cooker. You got to let some of the steam out every once in a while so that you don't actually explode. Are you gonna bake anything good for Valentine's Day?
I don't know. Well, so
John likes to bake. That's why I'm
yeah,
asking.
I have a cookie company, the Bad Cookie Company,
Nice.
and so I bake cookies all the time, and I love to do it. But I think I'm taking this is really the quiet time. We don't really do anything for Valentine's Day,
Uh-huh.
but March and April and May we start like festival season and we start like going crazy. So this is the calm before the storm. So I don't bake, but I probably will be cooking something really wonderful. I'm one of those guys. I've got like I think I have like 30 cookbooks, and literally just randomly every week I'll go through and randomly just select 4 or 5 things I've never made before and just make them because that is so de-stressing. I wish more people like were comfortable cooking because everyone's scared. So many people I know are scared to cook, and I'm like, don't be scared. You really can't screw things up. I mean, if you screw it up, throw it out and go, go to wherever, go
Yeah.
get takeout down the street. Who cares? But yeah, so I'll probably be doing that, but lots of relaxation.
Good. I love cooking for the fact, like when I have time, sometimes I just feel like I'm always rushing, but as a teacher and a coach, sometimes we don't always get to see an immediate like solution, like the end results. And I find that with cooking, you do the things and you immediately see the results. Where with what we do, it could take months and months or years to see the full results of all the hard work. So to me, I agree with you. It's like kind of therapeutic, and then everyone gets to enjoy the fruits of your labor. So I
Yeah,
love that.
it makes you feel good. It just makes you feel good
Yeah.
that you accomplished something. And, a lot of times you can make it healthier than you could get it anywhere eating out too. I mean, that's great. But yeah, that's especially this time of the year when it's cold and you don't want to go outside. It's just much better. It's much better than even going to a restaurant where you have to go out in the cold. Just, go do something.
What a deal. And you guys are getting snow, so stay
Yeah,
warm.
well, we'll see. It's been really bizarre up here for the past couple of years. We've had very little snow. But this year, finally, we're getting a little bit. But this is what happens. They'll tell us a week ago, oh, you're going to get 8 to 12 inches, and by the time it gets here, it's like, ooh, you might get a coating of
Yeah.
snow on
Yeah.
the car. So who knows? I'll let you know tomorrow how much we actually got.
How much is going on there? I was telling John, we have a client where she's in New Hampshire. She stood next to one of the piles of snow, and she's 5'4". It was like way over her head. So there's definitely some places that are getting way more snow than usual, even for this time of year. Well, John, how can people follow you and get a hold of you?
So my law firm address is gethappydivorce.com. And we are in New Jersey, so unfortunately, we cannot assist anyone outside of New Jersey. I get calls all the time from people in other states. But if you are in New Jersey and you need any help, let us know. And then I also work with men nationwide and worldwide. And you can visit mensdivorcenetwork.com and you get lots of information, blogs, videos. My podcast is called Get Divorced Without Getting Screwed. Stephanie has been a guest on it before. Our episode was wonderful. So through all those channels, visit me on social media, DM me. I'm just here to help. Whatever resources I can give people to help them is what I like to do, because there's really not as many resources out there for men, I feel, as there are for women. So, and that's a perception thing, because everything that someone puts out there for women's equally applicable to men, but it's just sometimes men just need it to be presented in a different way. So if you need some help, just let me know. And if I don't know how to help you, I know people that can help you, and I will send you to the right person.
Awesome. I love that. Well, thank you so much, John, for coming on today, sharing your knowledge. Go ahead and follow John. He does a lot of really great work. Like John said, I've been on his podcast. It was a great opportunity. We had a great conversation, and that's pretty much, we've known each other ever since. We've been keeping in touch. This is the kind of community that we have, is to be able to, we have a passion to help people. And like John said, not everyone is an expert in everything. So to be able to have the other people that you also know are passionate about helping people, then you know that you're in good hands when you hand it off to somebody else in our network. So I love that kind of camaraderie and the community that's involved with all of this, because we really do understand how difficult it is. And just like we want community for ourselves, we know that that's going to help you in your process as well. So thanks again, John. I really appreciate it. Thanks for coming on, and we will definitely see you again.
Thank you.
Bye. All right, everyone, what did you think? That was excellent. I really 100%, if you are a guy, definitely please go ahead and follow John. If you are in the New Jersey area, go ahead and work with him. He is a great person. He's a great advocate and supporter in the divorce process. So thank you for coming and hanging out with us today. Tomorrow, we're going to be talking to a certified divorce accountant. She's going to talk about actually people that are dealing with grief along with their financial issues. She does work with a lot of widows and widowers. And I know actually with clients that I have had they actually had they were widowed and then they started dating again, and they had all these negative feelings about dating and what was possible for them after that they lost their significant other. So this is something that happens. If that is you, definitely watch. If that is not you, you might know someone that is dealing with that. So come and watch tomorrow. Again, we will be going live all the way up until Friday. And if you have missed out, we are actually doing a Valentine's Day special that's going to be for 6 weeks. We've never done this before. So if you are looking for support, make sure you reach out and we can send you the information for that. See you tomorrow, everybody. Never forget, you are way stronger than you realize. Bye.